welcome back to another video and happy Vlogmas. So today's video, you get a whole lot of me. I'm gonna sit down and talk to you all about my first trimester and answer some of the questions that I've been getting. A lot of you have inboxed me on Instagram, and I've gotten a few comments here. But I wanted to go ahead and answer all of the questions about my first trimester. We did get a lot of messages about our process, like before, like our actual getting pregnant process. And that'll be another video sometime during Vlogmas, maybe in the next coming up days when Ebb is free. But I wanted to go ahead and answer all of your questions about my first trimester and what that was like, and just give y'all an update on baby boy Kimball. So we found out, if you watched our video about finding out, we found out super early on when we were pregnant. So usually moms don't find out till maybe 4 to 6 weeks. We found out exactly 9 days after insemination. So we didn't even wait the full 2 weeks, which is, you know, that normal 2-week wait. We found out at 9 days. So at that time, I would technically have been like 2.5 weeks pregnant, if you're basing it off of how they count pregnancy weeks. And so what initially prompted us to test, y'all excuse baby Cash's crib is starting to get filled up with things, but what initially prompted us to start testing was because I started having symptoms pretty early. So let me see, 3 days after I had started having, after insemination, I started having headaches. And yes, I do suffer from migraines, but this was like a non-stop, like no matter what, for 3 days. I just couldn't do anything about it. And I also, along with that, had a sinus, like a cold. And I'm used to getting summer colds, but it was just different. You know, it was like the migraines with like, suddenly I'm like sneezing and like runny nose and like mucus just out of nowhere. And I started looking it up online, and I'm like, you know, could this be symptoms? I'm like, I felt like it was too early for me to have symptoms, but here we are 3, 4, 5, 6 days later, and I'm like not feeling good, like just sleeping all day. Like I knew something was different. Like my body was just immediately saying like, things have changed. There's something new here. We don't know what's going on. So at that point, again, in the video, you saw that at 6 days we tested, and our test was negative at that time, but I continued to feel sick. A lot of people said they had sore breasts. I did not have sore breasts at that time. That didn't come until much later. But it was just the feeling of just being tired and being like, all of this was congested, and I just was like, okay. So finally, once we did find out I was pregnant, on the 9th day, I did start feeling better. You know, I was taking medicine at the time. I just felt like it was early on, so medicine wasn't going to hurt me if I was pregnant. So I did start after I took medicine, after about that first week or so, I felt better. And then we moved towards the end of July. At that point, I was 4 weeks pregnant. That's when my symptoms started, actually, like the worst of it. not the worst of it, but it was giving me a taste of what was to come. So when I made 4 weeks, I started having motion sickness. And so I've had motion sickness before, usually like on airplanes or when we're on cruises or something like that. And I would take some Dramamine and it'd be fine. But this was like, we were in the car on the way to Ebb's family in East Texas. And I couldn't handle it. Like I felt like I was just, if you've ever had motion sickness, you know, you just feel like you're riding a wave, like you're spinning in circles. It was horrible. So I was taking Dramamine, and because of the death in the family, we did have to go back. We were driving back and forth to East Texas. We did a few times within a week and a half, and it was really hard on me. And Dramamine is safe during pregnancy, and so with the Dramamine, it helped with the car rides, but it also hurt because I wasn't able to help Eb drive, so she was just driving around a lot, and that sucked. And then we had to switch from driving in her car. So Eb has a car and I have a Jeep. So we had to start going everywhere in my Jeep because her car was too low. I would feel everything and I would literally be wanting to throw up. So once we were able to just be at home, and once we would go anywhere in my car, as long as the trips weren't too long, then I would be okay, or I would take Dramamine beforehand. And that was the worst of it for, I would say, the first month. That let me know, like, if I hadn't tested, that would have been a sign like, hey, something's going on, like motion sickness, you know, this is not something usual. Test to see if you're pregnant. So then that would be my first month. So then we're moving into like the next month. Once we're past that month mark, we're heading into the 4 to 6 weeks. That 4 to 6 weeks, or let's do the 4 to 8 weeks. The month of August was really, really hard. It was really, really hard for me. Not only the anxiety that we had, because, you know, it was non-traditional of us getting pregnant, especially getting pregnant on the first try, but for us to, we were praying, you know, to make sure that it was a sticky baby, like that we wouldn't lose the baby. We wanted to confirm the pregnancy, you know, we wanted to hear the heartbeat. And also we just, you know, that anxiety may have made me even more sick, but my symptoms continuously got worse. So I went from just having, you know, a little bit of car sickness to just being sick all the time. So I think it was the first week of August is when everything just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I was nauseous all the time. I was throwing up all the time. I was dizzy. That was probably my most shocking symptom, because you know, you hear pregnant moms talk about like being nauseous, and you hear them talk about throwing up, but you never really hear people talk about the dizziness. And I feel like the dizziness for me was worse, because I could just get up out the bed and I'm dizzy. I feel like I just want to faint or fall over. The, you know, the shortness of breath, like I was just tired. I could walk from the bed to the kitchen and need to hold onto a wall. Like, it was just, I was just dizzy all the time. And I just felt like if I wasn't laying down, then I was no good. So I was basically bedridden the whole month of August. And I'm so grateful for Eb. Like, my wife is amazing, because she really took care of me. Like, she ended up having to go back to work in August, but once she would get home, she would just make sure I was okay, like getting me food, trying to give me Powerade, trying to keep me hydrated, because it wasn't much that I could eat. The food aversion started at that time too. So everything at once. Throwing up. So I would throw up if I ate. I would throw up if I didn't eat. If I waited too long to eat, then I would throw up. If I ate, then sometimes afterwards I would still throw up. I was nauseous all the time unless I was constantly eating. And the problem with constantly eating is because I had a major food aversion and I didn't want anything. Nothing tasted good, nothing sounded good, everything smelled horrible. So it was just really, really hard for me to like constantly eat something, because that's what I found online, that you're supposed to try to constantly snack and eat so that your stomach would never get that nauseous feeling. But it's super hard when everything is horrible. And they tell you to try and like just force yourself, like to eat some crackers or to eat some dry cereal or anything. But those things don't taste good. And if you've been pregnant before, I'm just letting you know, like, the food aversion is the worst thing in the first trimester. Food aversion, because food is what's supposed to help you feel better with the nausea and the throwing up, but then you can't eat or don't want to eat anything. So, you're eating this stuff and it tastes like, I don't know, just mush. Things that I love to eat, I just couldn't eat anymore. So that sucked for me. Okay? And then finally I did find a few things. Like, I went on a week where I could only eat mashed potatoes, and then suddenly I couldn't eat mashed potatoes anymore. And then I went for a long time where I could eat like hot wings. And I love hot wings. So when I realized that I could eat hot wings, I was doing that. But I couldn't make them at home, so it was starting to be a lot of money buying hot wings, ordering hot wings, door dashing hot wings when Ed wasn't home. Or just, every now and then I would have like a craving. I'd be like, ooh, I want a burger right now. And then I would DoorDash one because it was hard for me to drive anywhere. And then it would get here, and then I would eat maybe a bite or two, and then it would be disgusting, even though I wanted it all day. And so I would be wasting food. So that was horrible. I definitely didn't enjoy that phase because if I'm ordering food, like, I like to eat it. So that was a really bad time for me. There were times when I did eat and I was able to get everything down, and then suddenly I felt dizzy, and then immediately everything that I ate came up, and now here we are 15-20 minutes later and I'm starving again, but I don't want to eat because I just threw up, but I have to eat something, anything. So fruit kind of started helping me. I was able to eat fruit and always keep fruit down. And I honestly think that's about it. Fruit out of everything was the only thing that like didn't disturb my stomach, and I could still, even to this day, I can still eat it. At my 8-week appointment, I went to the doctor and I told them, the dizziness, and they told me there was really nothing you can do about the dizziness. Try to stay hydrated. Eventually it will go away as you get closer to your second trimester. And just, live through it. Try not to exert yourself. And I was super tired all the time. So those things weren't great. I couldn't imagine if I worked outside of my home. I'm grateful to work from home so that, when I just had the sudden urge to throw up, that I could. Or like in the mornings when I was a little slower, brushing my teeth made me throw up. So I would brush my teeth, throw up, then I'd have to try to do the whole process all over again without throwing up. So it just, not the first 8 weeks, not the greatest. After I went to the doctor, we talked about the nausea. And then one thing I do suffer from is acid reflux. I've suffered from that prior to pregnancy, and it only gets worse with pregnancy. So it did help that I was able to take omeprazole. And I was taking that before pregnancy, but I didn't know if it was okay during pregnancy. But when I went to the doctor and we confirmed the baby and everything, and they said that, it's fine to take, I was back on it immediately. And that helped so much. So much. Because it helped with not only the nausea, but the reflux with anything that I was eating. And it just reduce the amount of acid in my stomach so I could start trying to eat a few things a little bit more normally. I did lose weight. So within that first 8 weeks, I lost about 7 pounds, which they say is normal for you to start losing weight. But within that first trimester, I did lose about a total of 10 pounds, which again is normal. I didn't, because I was eating and throwing it up so much, my body wasn't retaining, and I was scared that the baby wasn't getting everything that he needed, but he was. My doctor reassured me, baby's getting everything he needs. Just continue to try to stay hydrated, take your prenatals, and do, whatever you can do as far as eating. And so the next thing that I would say in the first trimester, people recommended to me, the things that were recommended versus the things that actually worked. Ginger tea. I did not drink ginger tea, but I did take the non-drowsy Dramamine, which is ginger. They're ginger pills or extract or whatever. That worked. That did help because it made me not, of course, just fall asleep throughout the day, which when I was already tired. Ginger beer, my non-alcoholic ginger beer. My doula recommended that, and it helped as well. The omeprazole helped. I did order Preggy Pops. Preggy Pops, for me, it would have been something that I would have needed to constantly suck on. And because I was having, and still to this day, I'm having a huge sweets aversion. Like, I don't want sweets in my first trimester at all. Like, my baby just doesn't want anything sweet. And Preggy Pops are sweet. I got the sweet and sour ones, like the Jolly Ranchers that I like, and it didn't work for me. So that was a no for me. Protein shakes did help some, but also after I would drink the shakes, they would make me hungrier. So instead of like making me full and being a good meal replacement, they would make me hungry. And so that was weird at first. I was like, okay. So then I switched to just drinking smoothies, like fruit smoothies that had vitamins in them, and that was always a relief. I enjoyed those. So those are a few things that did work for me. And fruit, just keeping fruit on hand to munch on. So whenever I was in the car or anywhere, I would have like a little baggie of fruit so that I could just munch on it, and that would make me feel better. So the next thing that, like body symptoms, after my 8-week mark, was going into the 10 to 12 weeks, I started having a lot of breast soreness, and so my breasts swole up, and that's when they became sore. So usually people get that, within the first 2 months. I didn't until I was going into my 3rd month, and my goodness, I went up a couple of bra sizes, and my breasts were just bruised and sore because they're growing and doing all this, and they're still bruised to this day. They aren't sore in the 2nd trimester, but once I hit that 3rd month, it was like, oh, don't even graze me. Like, if somebody pushed past me, it's like, oh my god, my god. So that was another thing. So it was like, on top of everything else, here we go, another symptom. I felt like my baby was just trying to take me out. I was like, what's happening? Why do you hate me? I'm like, all I do is love you. But I know the body changes. I didn't really have much stomach growth during this time. I did have stomach pains. So something that scared me a lot, and I did talk to my doctor about it at my first 2 appointments, was the amount of pain that I was having. It wasn't enough pain to where it felt like period cramps, but it was pain. So, and they said that that was normal. Because I'm smaller, and honestly, I don't even know if it's because this is more the excuse that, or I'm not the excuse, but the reason that my doctor gave was because I'm smaller. I will feel every little muscle stretch, but the stomach pain, like the cramping, it wasn't like, oh, one day you get a cramp or 2 days you get a cramp. Like I felt like I was cramping a lot. But they said as long as it didn't come with bleeding, then I would be fine. But it worried me a lot, especially within those first 2 months before I got an ultrasound. I was always worried because I would get pain. Honestly, where you would get normal cramps, I would get pain there, but it would be more of a soreness type of pain. So sometimes it would be like a cramping pain, but sometimes it would just feel super sore, like I had been doing crunches, and I know for sure I wasn't doing anybody's crunches. Okay. But yeah, so after that, I just tried to, I got like some belly butter and I just started rubbing it on my stomach, and that helped. It just relieved some of that soreness. It didn't take it away because I mean this is happening on the inside, and even still to this day that soreness down there comes pretty often. And I just I was like, "Ee." Something else that I noticed, this was in September, so the whole month of September. So now we're in month 3. So the last full month of my first trimester, baby boy decided that he wanted mommy to look crazy. So my skin, my face was fine. Like, well, everything on my face was fine except my lips. And I don't think that I have any pictures or video during that time because it was horrible. If I do, I'll insert it, but it was horrible. My lips, and I'm pretty good at keeping Vaseline, lip gloss, something, lip balm, lip chapstick. We have them everywhere around the house. Aquaphor is the go-to. And then in September, so around week 9 or 10, I couldn't use anything. My lips started breaking out from everything that I used. So I would put something on my lips because my lips were super dry and it would break out. So then I would use some cortisone, it would go back, and then I would try something else, it would break out again. So this went on the entire month. When I finally went back to the doctor at the end of September, I told them, I was like, my lips are breaking out from any type of lip chap. The only thing that's helping me is cortisone, and cortisone will clear up the breakout because it's like little bitty bumps. It's not like huge bumps. It's like it was like little bitty bumps, like dryness on my lips. And so the cortisone would clear that. But then if I would put anything on it to try and give it some moisture, then it would go back and break out. So what happened is my lips turned black. And then they were peeling, just constantly peeling and black. And it was horrible. I'm so grateful that it peeled off that blackness after it. Still to this day, I can't. The only 2 things that I put on my lips is Vaseline and cortisone. I can't use anything else, but at least my lips aren't breaking out and peeling and just like turning black. Like my top lip, this side of my top lip and the bottom of my bottom lip, it all turned black. And it was like, oh, I'm just so sorry. I was like, because one day she was like, oh my God, look at your lips. And I was like, yeah, there's nothing I could do. I did a lip scrub one day that took away the peeling, but it couldn't do anything, for everything else. So it's not, the lip scrub, once it dried up, there go my lips back to being dry, back to just needing moisture. So I think that's just something for the rest of my pregnancy that I just have to be mindful of, just using Vaseline pure petroleum jelly that doesn't have anything else in it, because if it has anything else in it, then I'm going to break out. And that's crazy. Even my doctor was like, that's something new that they don't really hear very often. But they told me as long as the cortisone, so I would go, every couple days I still put cortisone on it because my lips are still dry. The Vaseline only works for so long. But and I just make sure that I stay hydrated. Even though I'm hydrated, my lips still dry. The rest of my face and my skin and everything has been fine, but these lips trying to take me out the game. Everything that started once I hit week 4 continued through the first trimester. So nothing like stopped and felt a little better. I was nauseous, I was throwing up, I was dizzy, I was lightheaded, I had dry lips, I had sore boobs. I almost every symptom that they say that you can have during your first trimester, I had it throughout the entire first trimester. I would say that the only thing, and I am so grateful to Baby K because I was nervous about this, because they say that pregnant moms do have more migraines. I did not suffer other than that first week when finding out, or before finding out that I was pregnant. I have not first trimester have any more migraines, and I'm so thankful because every month I suffer from them at least 2 or 3 times a month, and I have not. And I was like, you know what? I guess with all the other things that Baby K was was doing to me, he said that that's one thing he won't do to mama, and I am grateful. I'm grateful for that, okay? And then in the last month of my first trimester, so in that 3rd month as well, sleep became really hard. So the first 2 months, I was sleeping all the time because I was exhausted no matter what. If I did something for an hour, if I went somewhere, came back, I slept. I was sleepy. But then in the 3rd month, so from week 9 to 12 or 13, I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. So even though I was tired, my body was exhausted, I couldn't sleep. And so my doctor put me on Unisom. Oh, and thank you for Unisom, because it would make me sleep and it didn't make me feel drowsy when I woke up in the morning. So I was very thankful for that. Still thankful because every now and then now I still take a Unisom. But not only did I have insomnia during that time, but when I would be able to get a little sleep, I would have the craziest dreams. And my wife would be like, she would wake me up in the middle of the night like, are you okay? Because I would be like fighting and everything. And she's like, what is going on? Okay, so the Unisom helped with all of that. It just helped me have peaceful night's rest, and I am grateful for that. But one thing that I think is common in all pregnancy is the smells. So I can smell everything. And even now, I don't know if it's going to go away anytime soon or maybe after I'm have the baby, but I can smell everything. Every little scent. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. They have this, and that, So I can smell everything, which is not the greatest thing, because when I'm trying to eat, things that look or sound appealing don't smell appealing, and then that doesn't happen, So for me, I think that's overall of my first trimester. I am just glad that I made it through, because everyone kept saying there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Once you make it to the 2nd trimester, things are so much better. And I know that that is not always true, but for me, it was definitely true. It didn't happen like overnight, but slowly within the first 2 weeks of my 2nd trimester, I felt better. And the main thing for me was the dizziness and the throwing up constantly multiple times a day. I immediately noticed that those things were going down day by day, and then eventually they stopped. And then last thing to edge away was the nauseousness. And every now and then I'll still feel some type of nauseous, but I'm not nearly as nauseous all day. I still take my omeprazole because I'm not crazy. You know, I still dealt with acid reflux before. So, and I know that it will come back once I hit that third trimester. But as of now, we're okay. We're doing good. The boob soreness, it didn't go away, but it is not as bad as it was during that third month. And then the cramps, the constant cramps did go away, but it was replaced by around ligament pain. So take that as you want it. You know, I am able to eat now. Thank the Lord. I am able to eat now and not eat everything because I still don't want anything sweet, like I said, but I am able to eat meals, and I'm having more cravings now. Oh, last thing that I forgot. I am cold natured, but I was very hot during that time. Like my body heat, and it's still not back to normal, but I needed the house to be on like 66 degrees with the fan on as high as it could go throughout the entire day. And I could be in here in a t-shirt and some volleyball tights, spaghetti strap shirt and some volleyball tights, and still feel hot. And so yeah. That's how I knew my body was changing. My body changed, and it told me, girl, we about to change, okay? So I'm just grateful and thankful that we made it through that first trimester. It was a hard trimester for me, but I tried not to complain as much. And there were many days that I just would cry it out instead of complaining, because I'm grateful. We are grateful for baby K. You know, we planned for this baby. We didn't expect it to happen on the first try, but we are so grateful that it did. And so going through all of that, we know in the end will be worth it when we see his little face come March. So we are due at the end of March. So sometime at the end of March, we will be seeing baby K. So if you have any other questions about my first trimester or anything like that, please comment down below, ask any questions, and I'll definitely answer your questions. Like I said, we will make a separate video about our actual process up until getting pregnant. And then we'll talk more about my second trimester and all of that once we come to a little bit closer towards the end. I will insert at the end of this a bump update of what baby K looked like at the end of the first trimester, pregnancy brain, at the end of the first trimester. And then I will also show what he looks like now. I'm not going to stand up because I have this big sweater on, so you can't really see him, but I will show what he looks like right now. Okay. All right. So make sure that you have liked, commented, and subscribed on this video. We will see you all in the next video. Hopefully Eb will be with me, but she's working late, so hopefully she'll be with me next time. But we will see you all soon.